Hey now, we made it, Rich. We made it. I didn't know. I wasn't really. I was looking forward to this day. I wasn't sure that we will, but this is our second show. So you know what, Rich, we
Yeah,
made it, man.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so we had a great first show. So welcome, Rich. This is Asim and Rich connecting the dots with Asim and Rich show. Our second episode. This time, just for the record, we're going live, and we didn't invite any guests because last time we had a guest and he didn't let us speak. So we want to make sure that we say whatever we want to say, right?
I like
So
that. Yeah.
so we so again, welcome viewers. We don't have any viewers right now, but I'm sure people will tune on to our channels and watch the show because we have exciting show today. We will talk about a bunch of stuff, but among some of the stuff, we'll also discuss the top 26 technology and infosec certification. Basically, we rank them from different sources. These are the top paying certification that if one has it, these are top paying jobs. We make a lot of money. So we'll get into that. Then we'll also discuss a little bit what does that entail. And some of this I have no clue what they do, but anyway, we'll talk about it anyway. So I guess we'll begin. I'll let you say a few words, and then we'll just dive right in.
No, thanks. I'm excited to see him. It is number two, show number two. What can I say? I feel like a debt of gratitude, or but I'm happy to be here. And no, everything you said, like I agree. I support it. This is about, we can't say this enough. We call the show "Connecting the Dots." We want to basically differentiate ourselves from the other cybersecurity podcasts, and because we want to basically talk about things that are going to improve our career paths, things that are going to improve like our networking skills, really just exchange of ideas, whether it's in IT, whether it's in low tech, high tech, or is cyber, which is or risk management, which is basically our core sets. I'm excited to talk about certifications. It's been sort of, I won't say it's been like a bane, but it's been like a concern of mine for the past couple of years. Early in my career, I was heavy into certs. I think you know that, Asim. And then now later in my career, I've kind of laid off of them. But the certification industry continues strong. So I'm really, really, really excited to dive in and to kind of maybe play that devil's advocate role that I like to do. Yeah, I'm ready for this, Asim. I'm ready for whatever you have. Bring it on. Throw it at me. I'm your guide today.
Excellent. So I think you kind of started talking about it. So I want to take a few minutes and talk about why the show, right? I think we started talking about last show, but I think I wanted to make sure the viewers understand, right? So you and I have been actually doing the show off the record or offline for a few years already. We every day or every time we meet, we'll pick a topic, whether it's the cyber risk, whether it's just the career in general, whether it's the technology or innovation. That's another topic that I know I want to talk about later. So we've been doing that off the show, off the record. So now it's our opportunity. We figured to take this on online, and then also share our views with the our viewers. Right? I'm sure there's a lot of people have similar questions. A lot of people have questions that you and I had. And then we went and we did some research. We talked to a few of our colleagues, and some of these colleagues and guests will continue to invite them. We have a big list that coming up. Some of them are a big surprise as well. Um, but our vision, our goal, right? We're talking about before the show. So we want to make sure that we give people answers. We are talking to your people who starting the career in cyber and information security, people already in cyber and information security, or people just in IT or just have no background. Today, I talked to somebody and he's putting a program together for high schoolers, right? Some of these high schoolers, like, they finish high school and they don't want to go to college. Not that we're encouraging that to go to college, but what about them? I think they can make great career if they can dive into one of the cert or one of the areas we're going to talk about later. So this show is about our vision is, our mission is really to help out people who are up and coming, help with the careers. Also, the second lens to this, help out communities. My goal here is, I live in Lehigh Valley. My goal is to reach out to the local communities. There's a lot of help needed, and small and medium sized businesses where they have, 20, 30, 50 stores, or 50, under 50 employees, and they get, the system is being used as bots. Their data has been stolen, or they actively being, hacked, but there is no work being done because they don't have money, they don't have the budget, they don't know what to do. What do? They look at, how to, protect themselves, and when they search, they come up with large companies who charge a lot of money to kind of even talk to them. We want to do this for free. We want to talk to people, give them solutions, and discuss and answer the question. Now, viewers, if you have questions, comments, I know right now there is no viewer. I know, Rich, that's what you're saying, but people will listen to this later. They can always send a comment, right? They can always send a comment, questions, email to asimandrichshow@gmail.com. And then we will do our best to answer. If we don't know the answer, we'll try to get it for you. So our goal is to help you, right? Go ahead, Rich. You want to say something?
No, man, it's fantastic. Just to reaffirm, so we are live now on how many platforms are we streaming live to? We're on YouTube.
We're starting with the YouTube for now.
Okay.
And then we will eventually go to others later. Yeah. But for today, we are YouTube. Yeah.
Sounds great. You said a lot of positive, optimistic things. You mentioned community. You mentioned people who want to get into the cybersecurity field. I think there's a lot of people that have been talking about this. It's 2020. We're kicking off this hopefully interactive type of a podcast. I'm going to sort of reiterate what I feel should be my role, Asim. And I like to keep people in check. I like to keep knowledge in check, not people, knowledge in check. Okay. So as we're having any discussion in cyber tech, I'm not the world's expert, but I have a lot of breadth. Kind of curiosity kill. I'm a curiosity kill a cat kind of guy. It's kind of like that's been sort of my strength. I've dabbled in so many different areas of technology. I've read a lot of different academically, professionally. So my insights are really not opinionated, but grounded. And so usually when I have like a counterpoint, I will support that. So, as we're going through today's session through the list of certifications, you'll see I have an opinion, very strong opinions on a lot of them. You mentioned whether people want to get into college or they don't want to go to college, but they basically want to get into cybersecurity. I can argue that counterpoint really easily. When I started off in cybersecurity, the people who trained me may not have had that college background, but they were incredibly sharp. They were essentially white hat hackers. And so, I think of the cybersecurity industry, what's really good about it in general is that it's sort of a democratized arena where it's your skill set that counts. Your credentials do matter a little less. Now, to get work in industry, obviously it's good to have credentials. It's good to have resources and references so you can basically say, yes, I've been exposed to cybersecurity. I understand the basic principles and concepts. And we'll get into this more because the over-reliance on certifications could be basically a weakness for some organizations. And we'll get into that, as much as you'd like. I know from my experience working in a lot of financial services firms, it's great to have a whole fleet, a whole team of people who are CISSP certified. But does that mean that a CISSP certified professional would be able to detect a potential ongoing hacker attack, right? Something that's difficult, the needle in a haystack. So I love those types of discussions. Hopefully we get into some of them. I do have a lot of certifications, so that hopefully holds some water. I've sort of been exposed to both of those sides, those elements where you can be really, really proficient at cyber with having a lot of certifications. You can be proficient without having any. Nowadays, I think the better you are at analytics and coding, the better your career trajectory will be in cybersecurity. But the security keeps evolving, so there's a lot of different positions and opportunities for people with all different types of skill sets. I think you and I seem tend to be more about business analysts. We come from the risk perspective, so we really kind of try to figure out what matters to a company. Where should companies spend resources? When should we spend money? Like, how do you select security controls? How do you make sense of all of the different options we have? Part of that, staffing, qualified professionals. We look for certifications, at least as an initial introductory way to be able to staff up with people who we feel may do better going deeper in certain cybersecurity areas like threat hunting, red teaming, the penetration testing, the highly analytical, highly technical roles. But okay, enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say I think you lay down next 50 shows, but I think that great. That kind of shows that your excitement and passion about the show and what you want to talk about. And you said one thing about some of the certification you have, but I want to tell the viewers that Rich has a doctoral professional studies in progress. He's about to finish it soon. It's going on, so just wanted to put that on the record. But I want to go back, right? So we'll talk everything what you said, some of those things today, and some of the things in the future. But I want to talk about, yes, we do want to help people who wants to come into careers and their different parts of career they're in right now, or they have no career, they just want to get in, or small and medium-sized company and the communities. But our vision is kind of grow this, right? What we see, and we started talking about it last show. One thing that we're going to do in the show that a lot of the planning of the show is going to happen on the show. We're not going to do what I call this off the record segment or off the record, snit bits or whatever you want to call it, right? So basically, the goal here is that we're going to have a lot of guests, a lot of people on the show. We're going to talk to people off the record, off the show, and then some of these people will come along. Some of them become a good friend of ours. Some of them becomes good friend of the show. They mean they will recurring guests. Some of them maybe become part of permanent in the future. Who knows? But one thing that I want to do is in next few months, maybe 5 to 6 months, right? That we want to kind of build a group of individuals, right, from different background in tech, business, infosec, and sort of create sort of a alliance or a roundtable type of entity, right, outside of this show, and then where we can do some, publish some of the white papers, articles, and do some of these activities together. I think we talked about it. And I think also I want to work with the local schools, right? Local high schoolers or people, local trade schools where students wants to get into the job market and how they need to break into it. So besides the training that they're currently having, we would like to provide any help that's possible for them, right? So that's some of these things. We'll continue to talk about this, and some of the things will evolve, just like any great invention, right? You start with a big picture in mind. You have some ideas, but as you move along, as you move forward, your ideas evolve and it gets better and better. And I think we'll do the same.
Okay, well, you said big picture, and now I'm thinking vision, mission statement for the show. Not sure if we want to get into that now or after the certification talk.
Sure. No, right now it's fine.
No, because it's I like the big picture, but so what becomes the mission then? Asim? So the mission is basically to I think you said that to build a community of folks who basically want to start publishing together and get our ideas out, but practical ideas. What like I said, I want to keep knowledge in check, and I think one of the what I want this podcast to become is basically sort of a non-BS kind of a zone. They used to have the no spin zone, so something similar to that.
I think we should have 10-15% of margin of BS because we're going to do a lot of shows. I'm sure there's going to be some And even if we think it's not, somebody will think it is. But I get your point. I point well taken that it's got to be practical. We're not going to throw a framework or a methodology out there. Hey, you can use this and do it. We'll talk about a little bit in details how you can customize, how you can actually implement in real time without a lot of resources, without a lot of technologies, without a lot of money, and how people can really achieve. We'll talk about some of this in upcoming shows, but yeah, go ahead. But I like where you're going with this. Continue with your vision and
Right.
mission.
Well, it's I don't want to, I think that you laid out the big picture, the vision, what we want to do, and maybe the mission will come along in the next couple of shows. But the vision is going to stay steady, with what you talked about. I say let's dive in. I say let's show the viewers and the audience the list of certifications you compiled, and I'll let you give the first intro to it because I don't want to attack it without knowing
Yep.
where you got it from. Okay, I see them in front of me on my screen. Maybe we can share with the viewers. Okay, boom. So this is top 26 technology certifications that Asim put together. Now, Asim, what's the
Yeah,
source?
so these are the just a little background, right? So I've used a couple of resources on this. I've used I'll just go to the resources slide so this way people can know before I begin. So this is not what I think are the top, right? So this is coming from Forbes .com. This is coming from Robert Half, one of the top consulting and
Okay.
this company, PC Magazine, Great Campus. I don't know what they do, but the website sounded good, so I pulled it from
Okay.
there. And then certification camps. So this is coming from those. So I just took a little bit of the layout of the way I put it. So the source is 1 to 5. Basically, what I'm saying is that this certification of AWS, which is the number one certification in the list, AWS Certified Solution Architect, right? This certification showed up in all 5 of the sources, right? How powerful is that, right? So this is basically, this means is that all these this is one of the hottest one, right? So it made it to number one, and I'll let you critique on that in a minute. But and the rank, so where does it rank, right? So for example, the Forbes magazine, which is my first source, it
Okay.
ranked number 2, right? And
Okay.
then Robert Half, which is my second source, it ranked number 13, right? And then the third and the fourth and the last one, it ranked for 1. So this is how you will read it. So the first number left to right is your source 1, source 2, source 3. Similarly, the rank based on the source. So I think I just went over that. The
Okay.
quick
So
self.
I do have a question here.
Yep.
You,
Yep.
you did order them from 1 through 26.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
so how did you figure that order out? Did you add the rankings?
No, no, no. I made it actually simpler. So I put the number one, the certs that show up in all the 5 sources, made it to the one. So it's not about the ranking; it's about making the list,
All
right?
right. Okay. Well,
So this certification, yeah.
all right. I'll ignore the violation of that sorting algorithm already. But I'm glad you're laughing.
Hey, I sent it to you before this, so you should have looked at this. But
True.
anyway,
That's true. That's
but
true.
guys, you can simply, this is just a table. You can
True.
we'll try to put up the link out there later. You guys can download it and sort it however you want to sort it. But or I'll let Rich fix it and then we'll upload it.
Yeah.
But yeah. But the goal here is so the first one is the source, how many certifications showing up in multiple sources and by their ranks, and then the technology, call it technology, a vendor, whatever you want to call it, and then the certification, right? So AWS is number one. I'm not going to go all of them, but if I talk, just looking at this, right? So there is about 2 ISACA, about 3 Microsoft, and 2 AWS, right? These are your top technologies that the group by. But I'll talk about top maybe five or six. So AWS Certified Solution Architect makes the number one. PMI, which is the PMP, Project Management Institute, Project Management Professional is your number two. CASSP, I think it's been their top five for last, I don't know, 10, 12 years. Um,
Yeah.
ITIL Foundation. I have no background in ITIL. Maybe Rich, you can talk about it later, but it's the top four. And then the CISA, which is a Certified Information System Auditor, right? This is a um, focused on from ISACA, and then the next two are Cisco. And I was really happy to see A plus. I this is one of the first cert that I ever got. Obviously, I've never renewed it, but this is cert that really was exciting at the time when 486, late 90s, when all those desktops and peripherals and opening it up, hands-on training. So this was very exciting at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I let the yeah I want to point out a couple of others that I think are important from a risk perspective, and then you can maybe pick one from more security perspective. So I think number 12, I'm sorry, number 13, series is one of the hottest one for last 4 or 5 years. And after that, I think so. Number 13, number 12, number five, and number three, from a risk management perspective, are
Okay.
important. From
Um,
security side, Rich, if you want to talk about some of the certs.
well, I can talk about all of them, but I really wanted to talk about what you. I want to talk about what you talked about. Okay. I want comments on your comments.
Sure.
So a couple of things. A lot of things went through my mind. Quite obviously, as always. First off, you did ask me to look through it, and I liked it as a deliverable, so I gave it my stamp of approval. Now, even though I knew there was a couple of things, the misspellings, and maybe the ranking was off, I like, if we're doing a podcast, this is not a scientific show. So if we're gonna produce, we're producing things that are good, that aid discussion. So that's why a couple of errors here and there to me are actually valuable, because we can call them out on the show, and it can help. It helps in the discussion in general. If this was a scientific paper, it would be different. So, but that's not that. This is what we're using is really just to foster discussion and some debate. Now, the first thing that struck me about all the certifications is that it's there's an even balance if you look at all of them. Some of them are very technical, some of them are more less technical, some of the generalist, some of them are project based, some of them are appreciating security from that business perspective, and other ones are from the hacker perspective. As a whole, if you look at it a little bit closer, you'll see that the top 10 are, except for number 9, certified ethical hacker. Well, and then we have the Cisco ones in the middle. Okay, so the first, I have to go back on what I was trying to say now. So there is an even balance in the first 10, because the AWS, the very first one, is fairly technical. You basically have to know the AWS environment in and out in order to get that certification. It's the associate. I'm not sure if there's a step up after that. But that's what I noticed.
There is a professional one after associate. Yep.
Okay, thank you. So there is sort of an even balance, which is a great thing to see.
I'm sorry, one more thing. That tells you that there's not many professionals out there, so it did not make the list, because AWS professional is really a tough exam.
No, so say that again. I didn't catch that. So
AWS Certified Solution Architect, associate, you'll find a lot of associates.
Professionals, okay, yeah.
But professionals, I think the numbers of professionals is just my experience as searching on LinkedIn or talking to people. There are not many AWS Solution Architect professionals.
Okay, it's good to see Cisco sort of hanging on, but that's, I don't have good data onto how many routers and switches and basically network devices companies are still buying, whether or not it's still powering the backbone of the internet. I know that Cisco's not the only player. It could be like Juniper, it could be other players like Fortinet. But it's good to see that Cisco, if you still have that kind of cert, that expertise, there's still a market there. The most important thing I wanted to say as a whole, Asim, is that the data like this is not necessarily misleading, but it's always going to be incomplete if if the goal is to say that if the goal is to say, if somebody asked us and said, recommended for us to tell them if they wanted to go in a technical track or the more generalist track, and then if that question was posed to me, I would unfortunately have to pose a question back, and I would say, what's your career goal? Is it maximizing salary in the short term, right? Or is it maximizing salary in the long term? Now I jumped to salary as a sort of like this goal, but
Yep, yep.
okay. I mean, is it fair to basically say, maybe say salary compensation? But let's say it is. When most people would want to maybe get into an IT job, a cybersecurity job, because it's paying well, there's a huge market, there's a huge demand. Apparently, there's a short supply. So in the short term and the long term, and if I look at this list, there might be more demand for AWS, people who just know AWS, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're getting paid more, right? They may be a certified ethical hacker. So companies might hire one or two ethical hackers, but they might hire 10 AWS architects. Let's just say. I'm not
Right.
sure exactly which I would recommend. In my experience, I think the current market is that pay scales are relatively kind of the same in cyber. And to me, you can go anywhere from 100K to 300K. Right? It's a really large scale. Any of these certifications, I think you just with one of them, you would be able to basically apply for and try to and basically find a job, find a role that pays 100K and up. Would you agree with that? If that were my assessment takeaway, that would be really my professional almost recommendation to anybody. I would say, look, pick any of the top 10, top 15 almost. You got 100K salary and above. But maybe you might feel differently. You might have better data.
No,
Um,
so I think you're right. That's a great point. I didn't share the info, but the top 15 are all 100K plus, and even the others are right. They're very close to, just by professional experience. You're very close to 100K. Um, but then that really means for the new people who wants to break in. That doesn't mean that you come and you take the exam and cert, and then you just make 100K or close to 100K. That's not.
well,
We'll
it
talk
doesn't.
about that.
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
yeah, yeah.
No,
It does not.
to tell the viewers why. I mean, I
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of, but why not? Why
Yeah,
not?
yeah. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I wanted to have a little bit more discussion around the cert, right? So a couple of other themes that pop out, right? Rich, and I want to take your input on this. If I look at most of these, all right, they're around cloud, they're around um, cyber risk, they're around virtualization, right?
Hmm.
So to me, this really aligns with the transformation that the industry is having for past few years, right? And they continue to have, right? How everybody's transforming, either partial or larger companies are doing a partially, but some of the smaller to medium-sized company doing more than 60, 70, 80% to the cloud, right? And so that gives you that theme that what the demand is out there. The other thing I wanna tell the viewer, again, going back to, let's say you have zero experience about you coming out of high school, or you have no experience in IT, and you're really like hands-on stuff, and you want to understand hardware, software, PCs, Macs, antivirus, server, workstation, basic stuff. I think the A plus is really the cool one. I think it's very simple. It's not complex, but you might take a couple of months for somebody who has no background to kind of study for it, understand it. to go through it. But I think that's really giving you a good foundation. And I want to do a whole show on CompTIA cert, because the CompTIA certs are totally different market. I think anybody who's coming with new to the industry, I think the CompTIA certs to start. I think A plus is one of the big ones, and then the Network Plus, Security Plus, etc. You don't see that in the list, but I'm just saying one of the future show will talk about those. There's a
Okay.
whole
Yeah.
career path in CompTIA. But one more point I want to make. So I talked about transformation. One thing, number 16. No, sorry. Yeah, number 16. Certified Scrum Master. I think that is something up and coming for past few years. So this is around the agile methodology. I think the PMP is number one because there's a lot of projects in large organization, and they need people to have the project management experience and handling that. But the Scrum Master is up and coming. Watch out for more agile related cert in next 2 to 3 years. I think this is another one that is up and coming and related to the transformation. Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
Yeah, I think there's a relation there. I think if you go for a PMP, then you should consider strongly the Certified Scrum Master. When we talk about agile development, the sort of the newer way of having development and software engineers working on sprints, basically to put out updates to the code, updates to the application in a continuous fashion, continuous integration, continuous delivery. How do we manage this? By doing sprints, and Scrum is one of those, I think, original just frameworks of basically how to get teams working on stories every day and basically keeping the continuous engine of innovation going in a software development type of a team. Yeah, so definitely valuable. What I was maybe thinking of doing really quickly, Asim, I think we have the time, is like I want to do like a 20-second blurb on all of them. Can I do that?
Okay.
And
Go for it.
you cut me off if I go off. So AWS, obviously the monster of cloud. That's an obvious one if you want to understand a solutions architect. I think it's a generalist AWS cert. Fantastic. I tried to take that one myself without studying, almost passed, but not yet. So, but that's a great one. I would reconsider that. PMI is it's general. It's not just the IT. The last I saw the knowledge book that they hand out, it's generic enough that it could be applicable to almost any job. It's very powerful. I'm glad it's number 2 on the list. To be honest, I had 10 years of experience. And then I opted not to take the PMI, but it's something that maybe I can take even now, 20 years into my career, because it really sometimes is good to help you formulate how to get scoping done, proper resources, how to basically divvy up a project amongst 30, 40, 50, 100 or more individuals in an organization. That's what the PMI is going to teach you, at least the basic concepts, the terminologies to be able to communicate and get those types of jobs, or be part of a really large team. If you're part of a smaller team, a younger team, a startup that's mostly developing a web app, some kind of SaaS or a cloud-based application, maybe the Certified Scrum Master is better. I think PMI might be better suited for mid to large organizations. My opinion. Sort of take it or leave it. CISSP, I have that.
So, Rich, I'm sorry, Rich, to cut you off, but I feel you're doing a great job. But I want to point out what kind of. So you're talking about from a. I have a couple of other lens that I want to talk about, like AWS certified solution. You need to know. You should be a big picture guy. You need to know a little bit of everything, a little bit of most of the core product in AWS and how you put them together. A little bit of networking, security. And so it's like a solution architect. So you should know how apps work and all of that stuff. So you just want to provide that insight. The PMI, you gotta be a detail oriented and a patient person. That's all I have to say. Go to the next one.
Yeah. So yes, CISSP, probably the most popular cybersecurity cert there is. Maybe one of the first, maybe 2003, 2004, maybe a little earlier that they founded it. I'm not sure of the current iterations. I hear it's more challenging. I hear it's, but in general, my experience taking it in 2005 was that it was also and incredibly useful just for concepts and for terminology. The entire industry, I think, is very well aligned, or CISSP is kind of well aligned to the concepts, tactics, techniques, explaining the different lenses of cybersecurity, information security. So CISSP highly recommended. I actually do not recommend the certification that's a step down. And so off the top of my head, Asim, it's not the CISSP, but I see.
The CASP, CASP.
No, the ISC2 offers like the associate level. The
I
I think.
think that's the CASP. I think CASP. I'll look it up. Yep.
Okay, we'll look it up. So I think CISSP, even for somebody who's new, well, see, that's the thing. If you're brand new to cyber, then we don't I don't recommend the CISSP. But if you have an understanding of just technology, and if you've been in IT, or if you're comfortable with just computing systems, go for the CISSP. I think, don't sell yourself short. Next one, ITIL. So ITIL is was an infrastructure technology library, or IT infrastructure library. It's a framework. It stresses a lot on service management and problem management. I think it has more of an enterprise focused. Now, if you read the ITIL handbooks, they say you can apply anywhere. But once again, my experience is that if you work for medium and really large companies, they are more encouraged to use frameworks like ITIL to structure their IT processes, their controls, and essentially how to deliver service. So a lot of ITIL is wrapped around the notion of it's not just an IT process, it's not just the IT teams or people process. It's about delivering a service to the rest of the organization. So if you're a cybersecurity team, you're going to deliver a service to the rest of the IT organization. If you're the IT team, you're going to deliver a service to the business. If you're the business team, you're going to deliver that service up to, let's say, customers, and so on and so forth. ITIL, it's on the list number 4. ITIL offers a lot of different, I believe, certs because it is pretty large body of knowledge. The foundation one, I took the foundation one, pretty good. It's good to once I have that terminology. CISA for my SACA. So CISA, I know ISAC offers a CISM, which is we're like 12 in the list, and CISA is number 5 in the list. Having an auditor perspective isn't so bad. Audit and compliance and information assurance are really legitimate and useful functions in any cybersecurity, information security program. So the CISA will teach you basically how to inspect, analyze, and be very detail oriented, so you can actually opine and identify weak controls in the environment. That's what the CISA kind of gives you. It also gives you like that framework in the background, the terminology again of what a typical IT auditor might request. This is incredibly important for financial services firms, for investment banks, for basically anybody who has some kind of public companies who basically have to answer to the SEC, there's Sarbanes-Oxley, all of these frameworks, GLBA. If you have a CISA, it gives you a legitimate credential to say that you can engage in those conversations on either side. So it is useful. I don't have it. I took the CISM, but nothing wrong with the CISA based on my experience and people who have it. The next ones are all Cisco. Anyone who has like a Cisco certification. And these that I'm seeing up here, Asim, is not the CCIE, the Internet Expert. I think these you have to have 2 or 3. You become the CCIE. And I just want to reaffirm to the audience and to the live stream, we're not the experts of certifications, obviously. You have to research all these themselves. This is coming from our collective knowledge, or my collective knowledge and experience of seeing people with these certifications on network engineering and network operations teams. I'd say on the typical network engineering and network operations teams, maybe I'm taking my estimate is like 10 to 20% might have a Cisco cert. So you can certainly have a fantastic career in NetOps or NetEng without having a Cisco cert. Also keeping in mind the Cisco cert is really focused on Cisco products. But then again, taking a step back, because I haven't taken the actual certification, Cisco fundamentally was instrumental in designing a lot of the protocols, routing protocols, internet protocols. So I suspect that if you're certified in Cisco, it's not going to be 100% just because it's the requirement being that you're going to be working on Cisco devices, routers, and switches. But I suspect, and we'd have to, the audience would have to verify that. In general, it carries weight because Cisco's been so instrumental in just the internet work, right, and the development of the internet. So Cisco is glad to see it's still up here. A plus, you talked about certified ethical hacker. I have that one. CEH lasts forever. That's something important we could talk about if you want to talk about Asim. A lot of these certifications, you have to re-up on them. Every 3 years, you basically have to keep your knowledge level up, right? So to keep the certification sort of valid and active. Last I checked, the certified ethical hacker, you get it once, and you kind of say you're an ethical hacker for life. I don't know if they modified that, but so what do you call it? We call this continuing education. Is that what we call in they call it CE credits, right? Most of the certifications or the certification bodies require this, right? For you.
Yeah, I think that's a great point as well mentioning. I think most of these professional certifications, you have to be a member of the association, whatever the certification body is, and there's a yearly fee to that. And then there's also a certification fee in some cases, and there is also CPE, which is continuing education professional credit, which means 20 hours. I think everybody has different, but let's say on average 20 to 30 hours per year. You need to educate yourself in different disciplines that are aligned with your cert. Having said that, if you had some of the ISACA and ISC Square, you can probably have the same courses and training, which will be applicable to both. I'm not really familiar with a lot of technical ones, but I know that they do have, most of them do have 2 to 3 years expiration, especially in technology, is that when the company or the vendor comes out with the 2 3 new versions, they want people to upgrade. At least that's how it was in 90s, late 90s, and I'm sure they do the same. And so yeah, I think you have provided a lot of good insight. I think you were at the
I was going to do one more,
okay,
one
sure,
more
sure.
number 10. So we have to talk about SANS, and number 10 is GIAC, but it's a SANS certification. Okay, so I think maybe SANS, in my view, the king asserts the most comprehensive just organization, consortium, whatever you want to call SANS. And so I think SANS certifications are pretty phenomenal. They're so specific. So the breadth is amazing. The depth is amazing. This list doesn't do justice to it. So this is interesting. This is kind of, if you look at SANS by themselves, I mean, I think SANS might have close to 100 certifications. I'm guessing, you can quickly look it up. It's got to be 50 or more. So certainly so many options in cybersecurity. I wanted to bring SANS because they tend to carry a lot of weight, though. This is the GIAC that we have on the list. I think this is sort of the basic introductory. It's sort of like a combination CISSP plus. It's hard to actually say, but it gives you a good conceptual ground and a good technical ground. It's both technical and conceptual for my recollection of what the GIAC is. Now you have GIAC as a whole, and SANS has so many other ones. I have like the reverse engineering one that I took, reverse engineering malware, a long time ago.
Yeah, I think it's worth mentioning. So whenever I heard GIAC is more on the government contractors, it's very popular with the government, and
Yeah.
anybody who's doing contracting work or full time. This is the cert. On the public sector, you have your CISSP, which is very well respected. So I think it's well mentioning that.
The term assurance is heavily baked coming from government, and it fits in line with GIAC. And anybody can Google that, information assurance. You probably, if you study that term, you'll see that. I think it really does come out of government and sort of defense space. Hence the cert. So there's a couple of certs that are not up here because there's specialist certs. Like the one that comes quickly to mind is like the offensive security ones, or the is it OCP? You can be a Kali Linux certified cyber hacker, and there's an offensive security certifications, which are there's penetration testing certs that are not up here. The certified ethical hacker, the EC Council offers some penetration testing ones as well. Those are really up and coming, and I think you get a pen test cert, you can get a pen test job, I think almost overnight. Because I see a lot of part-time contract jobs in penetration testing. If you really just have the time, the know-how, and you want to get your hands a little dirty and technical, then you can consider penetration testing certification. I don't believe it's up here. So in general, it's a great time to get into cybersecurity. The thing everybody knows that the industry is exploding, so many different opportunities. Technology keeps evolving, but these certs are sort of standing the test of time. Maybe because they are a little bit more generalist. The cloud ones too. I think the cloud ones might stay. There's a bet. There's a 10-year bet though to see, or we could see which one of these certifications are going to like trail off, which one's going to fall off in the next 2 to 3 years. I suspect Citrix is already falling off, but Citrix is specialized, is lower on the list there.
I think number 11 is you're right about the ranking algorithm here. I think the GCP, the Google Cloud,
Yeah.
is going to take off. I also think Azure, Microsoft Azure, which is number 18, will take off. So I know it's on number 11 and 18, but I think don't be surprised another year or two. I would say 18 months that they are top five among with AWS.
Cool. I see no privacy certs here. There are some privacy focused, if not certifications, maybe designations of the IAPP, right? The International Association of Privacy Professionals, I think. IAPP does things in privacy. I see a certified data professional, number 2022. That's an interesting one. CDP. I'm going to look at that one.
Yeah. I've never seen that before. Actually, I don't know what they do, but obviously they're part of the privacy organization. It has to do with that, but that's a big thing. And one thing I also want to call out, number 26. I know it's number 26 and only showed up in one of the source. Salesforce. I know Salesforce has been hot for last 7-8 years. I know a lot of people make a lot of money in this. One of my neighbor is the very big architect, and people pay him a lot of money, and he goes out to the customer sites and then advise them how to implement. I think Salesforce will continue to grow, and I won't be surprised if it doesn't come up.
Sure. And a lot of these, I suspect that the links and the resources that classify these, well, I kind of suspect they might be more focused on, if not just US, like hiring trends, at the very least, like, for lack of a better way of saying, like developing nations. Now, the reason this came to my mind is because when I look at number 24, the Microsoft Technology Associated, I don't think I know anybody who would say, I'm going to take a Microsoft Technology Associated cert. Not here. But in the developing nation, Microsoft is here to stay. Right? So
no, I think I was going to say you hit it the nail, because I think these are because of some of these are, when I was pulling this, has salaries associated with it. I think these are the hiring trends. And then there's a ton of work and transformation. I think we talked about it. People need experts in those transformation projects, and they're hiring and they're paying people top dollar. Doesn't mean that everybody's an expert in this, but as we experience. But I think this wave of cloud compute is making a lot of careers, and bumping up the salaries. I think it's a win-win for the industry. But I think just to share, like in 90s, early 90s, I think SAP, anybody who's able to spell SAP will get $100 an hour, and then I think the VM and the Citrix people made a lot of money. early 2000 when everything was going virtualization, right? And then last mid 2000 there was around business intelligence. Then we moved to the cloud, and now transformation, which is all cloud and agile and security focus.
Okay. So just for completeness, because I like to be complete, number 22, the certified data professional. I was gonna look it up, but I'm not gonna look it up. I'll just talk about it real quickly. If that certification, it might have to do with master data management. It might have to do with just any certification just focused on data. I think is incredibly interesting, incredibly valuable. You could stretch that in a lot of different ways. Redundancy of data is a big problem. If you're in cloud computing network, you have data going in and out. So understanding maybe how to consolidate data, how to compress data, how to encrypt data, the importance of data. So fundamentally, I like it without knowing much about the CDP. So yeah, I just want to throw that out there. Also, I don't see any certifications in, oh, just get my mind, the data analytics, big data analytics. And I think there are a couple of them I've seen that are coming out. You can get certified in like a data analytics, data science.
Yeah, we'll do a whole, I guess. I think those topics can take the whole show.
Yeah,
Data science and AI and blockchain and IoT, etc.
there
I
we go.
think we
There
can
we go.
definitely, we're going to do all of
See,
that.
they're
But I
not,
think,
yeah.
yeah, I was gonna say no. This is a good overview, and I think some of them you provided a lot of good insight to it. I think some of them deserve probably more time. I think these search and career discussions will continue, as we'll have guests over, as we'll start, mentor and coach some of these folks as we do this on the record or off the record. We can come and share with our audience. And by the way, we're going to have a great audience.
You think so?
I can assure you that. Yeah, yeah. So I think
Yeah,
with that, I think I just want to say that if we can, if you can take a look at this, and if you want to tweak anything and fix anything you want to, and we can put it on our drive, and then put a link
yeah,
out to our viewers so they can have it. There's no urgency, because our reviewers are, just like us, very laid back and relaxed. They probably don't get to it today.
yeah,
But but I think this is the guy. I just want to make one point, and that's it for me today. But I think this is just a highlight, right? We will continue to evolve the show. We'll continue to bring in the topics. I figure we'll start with the 2020 top paying cert, because this is what people are talking about. These are the people who are getting hired. These are people who are making money. So if you're thinking to changing your career, if you're thinking to getting into any of the field, send us an email,
yeah,
let
yeah,
us know your thoughts. We want to hear from you. Why you think it's just the money? That's fine. That could be one motivator. Or what else? Or it's your personality types
feel that.
that like to, like to do certain, like a hands-on work or people facing role, etc. So we can guide and coach and help you with a lot. Yeah, go ahead, Rich.
No, I was gonna say, feel free to email us at asimandrichshow@gmail.com. But if you feel more comfortable with one or the other, then do they have our link?
You still email us at askteamerich at gmail. Just don't address the others. I
Sure.
think that's probably the way it is. But yeah, so I think we said in the beginning. I think that wraps up the CERT 26 technology CERT discussion.
Yeah.
And I just want to say also that we have great guests lined up. One of the next guests is very excited. A young individual who's going to have great, again, vision and goals of something that he's doing in his community. And he's going to come and share what he's doing and how he's going to help our community and the local schools and kids in his area, and what he's doing. So I think that'll be great. And we also invited him to kind of opine on and leverage our platform to either share one thing, share, and also discuss about other stuff. But that's just one of the guests. One of the guests we're talking to maybe come in and talk about data science, right? Give a very higher level overview around data science. Some of the people we're talking about, again, bringing in strategy. What does strategy mean to a larger company versus smaller company? So there's a lot of people, there's a lot of guests. But one thing for sure, you definitely see both of us, even if there's no guest. So that's for sure.
Okay. As we get more viewers and as we get, and I'm sure we'll have thousands. I mean, what if a viewer wants to say something like we really enjoyed Rich's segment, but not Asim so much? Like you still want to email both of us? I'm just saying, maybe we got to give a little bit of latitude to have you. Yeah, I'm just saying,
You
Asim.
know what? Let's do this. Let's see. I mean, obviously, the platform of email is there. The comments on YouTube is there, so that people can share whatever their best moment or whatever whoever they feel was not yapping less or yapping more or more. Connecting the dot versus not connecting the dot. But I think we'll let people decide. But either way, I would like to hear from you. I'm not going to subscribe yet, but hey, if you're searching for top 20 search 2020 search and you want to know inside our point of view, I think this will give you, at least if you're deciding to go into one of the search, and help definitely helps you out.
Well, thanks, Asim. I think everyone should be appreciative and thankful of that. Yeah. So this is good stuff, man. This was just session 2. Oh, we're close to a wrap, Asim. I feel good about it. We went 56
It's
minutes. I didn't feel it.
it's a wrap. I think this is it. I think we don't want to make it an hour because people think we'll talk too much. But I think we had a good show. I'll let people decide. But I think we had a good discussion, I would say, around the cert. And then we'll definitely going to bring this up. And I'm going to do another show on CompTIA only.
Okay.
Maybe Asaka, ISC Square. So
Okay.
we'll come. All right. With that, I think I'm done for the night, and see you at the next show.
All right. Thanks, Asim. Good stuff. See you guys later.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye bye.